Ill Nation? What's going on with you guys, man? It's the Kid Illest Truth in the building, and today, man, we are back at it with the For Honor, man. We got the Berserker Advanced Rework Guide. I want to thank the guys over at Ubisoft so much for giving me the opportunity to have the early access so I could bring this guide to you guys, man. So with that being said, we're going to be going over a few things. First, we'll be going over all the changes to the Berserker because you know she's my main thing. So we're going to go over all the changes. We're going to go over trading with your heavies. We're going to go over the new unblockables, and we're going to go over the 400 millisecond light delays so we can make sure you can get into it. So with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and get into the guide, family. Man, I'm hyped. Let's get it. All right, guys. So starting things off, I want to talk about trading your heavies. So with the change to Berserker, Berserker keeps her hyper armor as she's going into her Feint mix-ups. That's kind of huge. So first thing that does, that allows you to eat attacks. And what I mean by eat attacks, I mean that if somebody throws out a light, they throw out a heavy, the only thing that will stop your attacks at this point is a melee move, such as Centurion's Punch, Warden's Shoulder Bash, things of that nature. Other than that, you can eat right through it and continue your onslaught of attacks. So with that being said, I need you guys to go ahead and start trading with your opponent. You can't be afraid to throw out heavies in today's day and age. And to counteract that, you have to be throwing out feints as well. You can't just be straight throwing heavies because those will get parried. But if you're throwing out a lot of feints, as you see myself do, as you see guys like M Goldie, you see guys like Nate Cadillac, they throw out a lot of feints. So make sure you're throwing out those feint mix-ups to keep them guessing, so they won't. The chances of them parrying you will be slim, will be less likely if you're throwing out a lot of feints. So that will allow you to actually trade because your opponent might try to knock you out of an attack, out of a bad habit, but with the Berserker's hyper armor, you'll be able to go ahead and eat that and throw your heavy and continue your onslaught. And that's probably one of the most rewarding things about this rework, is that they added this, because I thought that this was a really good feature. I didn't think about it to begin with, but now that I see it in action and I've had time to test it and play with it myself, pause on that, but I've had time to mess around with it. I think it's a really good, if not the best feature to add to Berserker, because this will allow you to keep your Feint mix-ups going. So make sure you do this shit, guys. Make sure you take care of those heavies. And as you guys can see, I'm just eating through their attacks. Just going ahead, just keep my mix-ups going, not really caring about what they're doing on their side, because I know that I'm going to go ahead and tank the attack, as I should say. And unfortunately, since this is early access, I didn't really have anybody to play with. You know what I mean? So I had to kind of just use bots with this guy, but nonetheless, you guys can see what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So make sure that you are taking advantage of this. I cannot stress that enough, because this is a huge change. Like, people look at the 400 milliseconds as a big change, but this is huge. Being able to sit there and mix it up and just force them to truly defend without them trying to guard break you out of stuff, without them trying to just hit you with a light to take you out of stuff. Like a Peacekeeper, this is a Peacekeeper's worst nightmare, a Berserker who you can't just zone out of their attack. That's scary. That is completely scary. So I want you guys to really hear this and take advantage of that hyper armor in your Feint mix-ups. So moving forward, the reason I stress that so much is the Bear Mauler combo got a major update. So the second heavy now does 30 damage, or 35 damage, I'm sorry, it up from 20. And the finisher is now unblockable and does a whopping 45 damage. So I want you guys to be using that hyper armor to try to get that Bear Mauler combo off more often, because it is really worth it. And with the nerf to the max punish, I'll get to that in a minute, you want to utilize this Bear Mauler combo. So make sure that you're throwing double feints, make sure that you're feinting the second hit going back into the 3 hits, make sure that you're utilizing your feint mix-up so you don't get parried, so the chances of you getting parried are smaller, because you're going to get parried eventually. It's just the name of the game. That's just the name of Berserker's playstyle. You know, you have to be wild, you have to be unpredictable. So make sure you're unpredictable in this mix-up, and hopefully you can land it, because it does crazy damage, you guys. All right, so moving forward to the bread and butter of the Berserker. So that is now the mix-ups with the light attack. So the light attack within Feint got a major update. So it's now 400 milliseconds for the side lights, and it's 500 milliseconds for the top light. Keep in mind that this is when you feint a heavy into a light. That's the speed. It's still the regular 500 for the side, and for the top is 600. So I want to speak about delay. Make sure you delay your lights. Don't just go right into it. If you could rewind it back and look at what I'm doing, I'm delaying my light attack. So I will do a feint, and I would stop for a quick second, and I'll keep it going, because the hyper armor has my back. The hyper armor will allow me to eat a hit if they throw out an attack. And so I'm trying to get it as close to throwing out a neutral 400 millisecond attack as I can, if you get what I'm saying. But just look back and just re-watch and see what I'm doing. Okay, so moving forward to the top heavy unblockable. So now the top heavy finisher is now has unblockable properties on it. So, and it's easy to get to. All you have to do is land an attack. And what I mean by land an attack, just don't get parried. Like if you throw out a heavy and they block it, you can still go into this unblockable mix up. So with that being said, this will be used as a consistent pressure maker. This will put pressure on the enemy. So you have to make sure to not always go through with it and to not always feint it, you know what I mean? So that, if you haven't understood by now, that is the Berserker's gameplay. Like you cannot be predictable, because once you're predictable, your enemy will know exactly what to do to shut you down. So just make sure that you're throwing it out enough to where they fear it, and the fainted enough where you can get your mix-ups in, because once you can get your mix-ups in with this move, you're in good hands. And also to add, don't always go into a light, because eventually that might get parried. You know, even though it's 400 milliseconds, it's a potential that it could get parried by some really good players. So when you do this, try to throw out a heavy, throw out a double, throw out a double feint. You know what I mean? Keep mixing it up. That's the name of the game, ladies and gentlemen. If you guys have not understood it, that's what I stress enough to new Berserkers and even Berserkers that send me messages like asking how to get better. Always keep the mix-ups going and find your own mix-ups, you know. Don't just follow this guy, you know, go into practice for yourself and figure out some good mix-ups that you want to use. All right, you guys. So moving into the defensive side of things with your parries. So now it's more standardized. So when you parry a light attack, go ahead and go for that top heavy as usual. But when you parry a heavy attack, make sure that you quickly tap your light attack to get a guaranteed quick light attack, because now you're not guaranteed that top heavy out of any parry how it used to be. And that kind of like scorned me a little bit, but nonetheless we'll be all right. So make sure that you go for that quick light attack, because it's guaranteed. And we're gonna and that's if you have like kind of lowish stamina, or your health or your stamina is like halfway or so. But if your stamina is pretty good and you parry a heavy, go ahead and go for that zone attack, because you can now land a zone attack with your heavy parry. So go ahead and go for that. It's a little extra damage, but it does require some stamina, you know what I mean? So if you don't want to go out of stamina, just make sure that you go for that little light attack. But if you're pretty good on stamina, go ahead and go for that zone, you know what I mean? Get that extra damage, because I believe the zone does like 30 damage and it's all guaranteed if you get the first hit. So go ahead and go for that, because it's a lot, it's extra damage. But the timing is strict, so make sure you watch that. The timing is pretty strict. If you delay it a little bit, they can block it and or parry it, so watch out for that. Alright, so going into the deflect options. So not much has changed about the deflect. Only thing that has changed is the manual input for the guard break. So I felt that was big enough to talk about it. So now with the deflect, instead of getting the auto guard break for Berserker, you have to press the guard break button to actually get the guard break. So that leaves up a few options. So option number one is that you can just continue just to do the same old, like you just guard break them when you go for your deflect. But option number two will allow you to actually go ahead and actually just deflect, and that's it. You don't have to actually sit around and do the animation. They don't force you to do the animation anymore. So that will kind of fuck you up when you got those surprise deflects with the Berserker and you didn't really mean to do it. Like I know I do that a lot. So I have to be quicker on my feet to press that guard break button. But that does leave a lot of options in team fights where you can go ahead and deflect into a zone maybe. I know in 1v1 your best option is the guard break, but within a team fight you don't want to be stuck in that animation, that guard break animation. So go ahead and deflect into a zone attack or deflect into a quick light or something. But nonetheless, it can work in team fights, but in 1v1s you want to go ahead and stick to that standard zone, that standard guard break, standard guard break out of the deflect. Alright, so Ubisoft threw us a bone and they updated the input for the backward zone, so it's a lot easier to pull off. It just costs a shit ton more stamina. So with that being said, if you're good on stamina, go ahead and use this to avoid attacks like Shaman's all of her dodge heavies and her little pounces and all that. Just if you could predict it, just make sure you use this to evade it and get off scot-free and get a little bit of damage in. Alright, so moving forward to Berserker's Max Punish. So instead of the side to top heavy as usual, do two side heavies into the unblockable third heavy finisher. So this will force an opponent to either dodge and or try to parry, so you can just get the easy parry to get another max punish. That's kind of cheese, you guys. So I know they nerfed us, but this one's looking a little better. This one's looking not so much better, but you have more options. You now have to force them to react with that third heavy unblockable finisher. Alright you guys, so that's gonna go ahead and wrap up the guide. Once again, my name is EnglishTruth. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, so much for checking out the guide. If you're new to the channel, make sure to smack that subscribe button. Go ahead and join Ill Nation. Go ahead and turn on those post notifications so you can see when I upload a new video or I'm streaming. And I want to get the streams back going, you guys. I'm just waiting on a dedicated service because I want to play with you guys. And I know you guys are all around the world, so with the connection being so messed up, it was very hard for me to do that. So that's why I've been kind of delaying the streams a little bit. So I'm waiting on those dedicated servers, you guys. Don't worry, the streams will be back. Fight clubs will be back for sure. But with that being said, peace to the world, peace to the earth. We out, man. That's a wrap. Thank you guys for watching.